Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the European crossover webinar. And been a pretty big day already. Bear with me one moment. I'm just trying to line up one of the last news stories, so bear with me. You can already see we've already had a pretty big movement over here in the equities. Look at how the with the S&P 2854 is a pretty big key level, and we've been dumped. I mean, we had come off of that a little bit. Actually, in the after the market, after the earnings for Amazon, we dipped close to that area, kind of bounced back. But boy, look at that! We came into that area, and they try to hold them. And look at this dip here. Boy, it's pretty good little fall here. Probably gives you an idea where they want to go to is right here in this 2854 ish area here. You can see the significance here on the daily. But boy, have we taken a slide here. Probably was a little bit of support here. One moment. Right there. Well, sure enough, 2830. You see that? Pretty carrier right there. Look at that. Look at that right there. You can see them coming off of that area too. See right here. But you can see, wow, what a move we've come back off of these. I talked about this even yesterday when I did the intro to the Trader Summit, and I was saying, had stressed if we were to get that the pivot was 2932/34, and if we got two consecutive 2-hour closes, that was it, and made a big deal about the gravestone doji we had here, gravestone. I think we may have had the same thing here in the. Look at here, not yeah. Here we go. You see here, right there, gravestone doji here in the Nasdaq. We saw also the same thing here in the Russell. We can go and take a look at that too. There we are with the Russell 2-hour, maybe not as pronounced. Look at the Dow futures. Look at that. That was really a pretty good gravestone doji, and that really signaled the top right there to me at least. And I was up pretty late last night. The night, not this last night, but the night before. Trading this thing, I thought we were going to get not a complete reversal, but I thought that we would. And I said the reversal. I thought we'd be putting in the top for this market to come off of it, and it certainly did. Probably could have been a whole heck of a lot more aggressive. And I even thought that we'd see a better bounce off that 2854. Although when the announcement came out or the earnings after we opened up, we actually went down to, I think it was 2852 or around there. We can actually take a look here. So look at that, where they went down to 2853. You see that? So you can see where they went to 2853 right there, 53 and a quarter. And look, if you look on the daily, we talked about this, the significance of 2854. So, actually, I'm on the wrong. Let me put it back over here to the SPOOs. So what I was talking about is this is 28.54. Look where they went down when they opened up. Right there, you see? 28.53. And then we talked about the significance on the daily. There's the 28.54. So I knew there was a number for them to go and go to. You saw a pretty nice bounce against that. It doesn't certainly look like it now, but we had rallied up to, I think, 28.78. I actually got off a short right in that area in Asia. I didn't hang on for this whole length of time, but anyway, wow, what a pretty good sell-off we've continued to go on and do. I even thought, well, after I went to bed, I thought they were above this, but they're heading towards that. I go, well, you know, they'll probably kind of hold in here and try and bounce off of that, but they'd already made a couple of stabs here. If you look here, there we go. See right in here, and then we came back down. I thought, well, I don't, since they'd already bounced off and had a pretty good bounce off against that. Look at that 28.80 coming up in here. And remember, that was the significance as we went lower during the day. So, and then I thought, well, they'll probably hang around, but I don't know if they'll bounce because they've already had that opportunity to bounce. They may linger around. So I wouldn't have been surprised to see it here, but all the way down to 30, 31, holy smokes. Trying to pull up the news calendar. We did have UK data. We did have May Day, so I thought that was another thing. I thought it'd be a little bit light because of Europe and the May Day, but I mean, they really pressed them here. We have the Canadian data, Canadian securities, not real data, so to speak. We do have a manufacturing PMI for Canada out at 9:30 Eastern, and well, this was going to be PMI final here in the States, and then ISM manufacturing PMI also final. ISM prices paid. I'll move this out of the way. Let's go and move into the FX. Bear with me. The Canadian dollar weakens along with stocks, but posts most monthly gain of 1%. Canadian dollar weakened against the greenback on Thursday as Wall Street and domestic data showed no economic growth in the month before the coronavirus-related lockdowns. Technical resistance near 38. Remember, that was our bias chart support, 38. And a loss of positive momentum for risk appetite weighed on the loonie. There's a slight exhaustion and optimism in the marketplace, particularly as the U.S. stocks drop. U.S. stocks fell as grim economic data and mixed earnings prompted investors to take some profits at the close. Canada runs a current account deficit in a major exporter of commodities, including oil, so the domestic economy tends to be dependent on the global flow of trade and capital. The Canadian economy stalled in February, Statistics Canada said, as Parliament's budget watchdog warned that a dramatic contraction was possible this year. U.S. crude oil futures settled 25% higher at $18.84 a barrel after several producers said they could cut output, and as the signs of the U.S. crude glut was not growing as quickly as many had feared, brought an upbeat close to the most volatile months for oil trading in history. Europe quiet on Europe's day off, and that's I'm surprised that we had fallen this much. I was thinking with Europe being essentially closed to a certain extent or celebrating May Day, but boy, we certainly have taken it for a loop this morning. Um, the euro stabilized against the US dollar on Friday, having rallied the day before to a 2-week high on month-end flows. Much of the Europe was closed on Friday for International Workers' Day, as was much of Asia, but a new month brings in a new set of worries as investors, as coronavirus infections are rising to 3.3 million globally. Holy smokes. US dollar was down slightly against the Japanese yen as well, trading at 707. Canadian dollar at 40.16. The late day fall in the S&P 500 diminished the market's gains for the month end, turned April from the best month since October of 74 to the best month since January of 87, said Marshall Hitler. The move was reflected in currencies as well as with the Swissy, the top gainer, AUD and CAD leading the way. And morning bid, May Day. After April finished with a whimper on stock markets, a new month came in similarly weak, threatening to make a bad situation worse. Is Trump's, who has weighed in with a threat to impose new trade tariffs on China in retaliation for coronavirus, with the U.S. election campaign likely to go into full swing in the coming months. He says he's confident the virus originated in a Chinese lab, but the full effect of the news flow will not be fully felt today as a public holiday in many countries. That came after figures of the biggest quarterly contraction for the U.S. economy since the Great Depression or Great Recession. The Federal Reserve has widened a program aimed at Main Street that put the pressure on the dollar. Economic data are awful everywhere. Data today showed Tokyo inflation, a good gauge for the rest of Japan, fell for the first time in 3 years, and Japanese April factory data shrank at the fastest pace in a decade. The holiday means currency liquidity will be thin, and there's no exchange trading in Eurozone government bonds or equities. Wow. And that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised that we fell this much. I thought it would be quiet. In all, Britain's biggest four banks have set aside a combined £6.7 billion to cover an expected rise in defaults. On the aviation front, Ryanair will ground almost all of its planes until July, where British Airways plans to lay off a quarter of its pilots, and London's Heathrow Airport, usually the best in Europe, said passengers' numbers would be down around 97% in April. Is there any good news at all on the coronavirus front? Growth of new infections as well as the deaths seems to have slowed. More countries should resume economic, with Germany out of the blocks next week. Deutsche Bank notes that the lockdowns may have averted 11,000 air pollution-linked deaths in Europe. Figures will be multiples of that across Asia and Latin America. Also, Wall Street's night of the FANGs, Apple revenues pleasantly surprised, pushing shares higher. Amazon warned of its first quarterly loss in 5 years, hitting shares after hours, but its forecast of a 26% revenue jump to around 80 billion is still an astonishing feat. One analyst calculated that this is an amount to $10,000 worth of sales every second for the 3 months. Some major emerging markets from South Africa to Malaysia have started to announce plans to gradually open economies, but the sector has taken a hit from worries of a renewed tariff between China and the United States. So that's really where is giving us that extra drop, or at least that's the take. So let's go on and move this out of the way. We'll move into the analysis. So the euro rallied, but was unable to close above the secondary resistance of 956. If you remember, we had 905 and 956. So euro rallied, but was unable to close above the secondary resistance of 956. Resistance on Friday will be 980, with support at 897. So far the high has been, well, looks like about 971 or so. So resistance for today is 980. with support at 897. Cable rallied on Thursday, opened the challenge for 2602. We can say we've been talking about that. If we could get a close above 2502, would be open up a room for a move to 2602. So cable rally on Thursday, opening the challenge for 2602. A close above 2602 will allow a test of 2810. Resistance on Friday is going to be 2647. Support is going to be 2496. I'm really surprised we fell that far, but I guess once again, Trump talking about the tariffs has really put the kibosh and really nailed these equities even lower. Aussie found some sellers at the bias chart resistance that we had yesterday, 65.69. You can see that right there. We went, remember we said we're just going with the levels. As equities went offered. Potential back test to 63.97, right here, will be support, and the resistance is going to be 64.95. So potentially we're looking for a slide. I mean, there's going to be some support here. So this is 64.40, but we're eventually looking at this market and looking under the pressure, we're under equity, so we can still push further. So support is going to be 63.97 with resistance at 64.95. We'll move into the Kiwi. So the Kiwi had a solid close, taking out stops, immediate resistances, and I don't think I did that for yesterday's. That was not correct. That was the day before. So I'm not sure why this didn't update. Maybe it didn't get it in there. But anyway, we actually had a Greystone Doji. So certainly this is from the prior day right here when we closed here. We did press higher. And we had resistance at 61.62 yesterday. They got it to 61.77. But we did close with the Gravestone Doji. So the resistance would be right there on the previous day's close, which is going to be 61.38. And support, you can see here the 60.77, similar like with the Aussie, but we'd be looking for a further move. Now, it won't be as great as the Aussie, but we're going to go right there, right here, for immediate support. This doesn't, it's been a good move. It's been a solid move, but not as strong as the Aussie. So we'll actually look for some support coming in right there, which is going to be 60.47. So dollar CAD, held its own among the risk-off environment, rallying back above prior broken support, which was 39.23. Remember that was support before. Resistance will be 40.23 with support at 38.92. So 40.23, and the high today so far has been, oh wow, 40.39. So it's already come up to 40.39. All right, there it looks like 40.42. But we'll stick with what we had, which is 40.23. Indices coming back a bit here. And support is 38.92. Let's go into the dollar peso. So the dollar peso went bid with the sell-off in equities. Resistance will be 24.62 with support at 24 even. So 24.62. And with that, let's go to the dollar yen. So the dollar yen rebounding closed above 7, but still is in a sell mode. Resistance will be 778, which probably gave it a little bit too much credit, but we're saying we'll go with the levels like we always do. And this time, because like I said, with the volatility we've been seeing, is we just go with the levels. We're not really paying that much attention to news. Just the levels are the levels, and I think that's what's been more helpful than trying to say you can't go here and you can't go there because of that. Look, the levels are the levels, and the markets respect the levels. So 778 with support being 628. So we still left open the downside. Remember, they defended the 628. They never made it down. They remember 634. So the 628 is still holding. The only difference is, and probably giving it a little bit too much space up there, but we went with the levels as we have 778 in case we got a real pop. Doesn't certainly appear to be the case. With that, we're going to move into the dollar index. So the dollar index broke 99 on the sell-off, finding support just above 98.73. Resistance is going to be 99.69. The index, although oversold, is open to challenge 98.31. So potentially can get down there. But we did find support at 98.73. The market is still kind of holding its own or just above. We set at 98.80. So we're going to go with the 98.73, which is support, our next level. And resistance 99.69. Sorry, it doesn't look like it'll make it up there, but 99.69. We are at the point where it's going to turn outright bearish. You got to give it the benefit of the doubt, but it's really at that point now. But we'll see if we get a bounce, and probably have to wait till Monday to make a determination whether it's bearish going forward. With that, we'll go and move into the cross rates. Well, we did have this pop here yesterday. As we continue to strengthen, kind of turned things about a bit. The move hasn't been that big. Resistance. Don't really see a good level here, other than right here. The bottom of this bar, you see that right there coinciding? Well, actually comes in right there at the body, which that was initially what I was going to go with. Still not that great of a resistance. Let's go and take a look at a 2-hour chart and see if we can see something a little bit better. Right there, 65.51. Oh, we had 65.55. That wasn't bad. Well, actually got above that, but I'm just saying it meets up for today. And let's go with the daily, back to the daily. Well, support, what we can go and pair back to. Had a pretty good run. Obviously, support's going to come in right there. Not that it can't work lower, but you can see a lot of good touches coming all the way across the board. Let's put it right here. Right there. You see that? All these touches coming across from here to here. So that's going to be support, 64.88. And with the euro yen. Boy, did we see a turnaround here. We kind of thought it was going to try and hold, and we knew, but the ECB, I just didn't think we'd see this dramatic a move. Resistance is going to be right there. You see there? That's going to be 1771. And euro yen support right there. You see this low here? Right there, right there. See that? There we go. 1678 for support. Move on to the euro odd. Well, we thought we could hold. Remember we talked about it, said, hey, look, I think we've seen the last of the Aussie in light of what was happening with equities. This is resistance here right there, which is 70 even. Support. Let's go into the 2-hour. It's pretty steady. Holy smokes. But we got so overdone with the Aussie. It was ridiculous. It really was. They planned, I mean, that priced in not only perfection, it was like perfection squared. With the Aussie, that was just ridiculous. We'll go with the levels, which is going to be 68.40. Let's take a look at the Euro Kiwi. Straight up with the levels, look at that. I did tag this level here. 80.38. And support. right here coming across. You see that? 79. Just put it just a tad lower off of this one. You see here? So 79.40. Now let's go to the ASEAN. Well, you can see support there, 68.69. Let's just go with the level 68.69. And resistance. Right there. Right there. 69.30. I can't wait for this week to end. I'm tired. I can't even stand listening to the guy on the squawk yak about the UK data. Resistance is going to be right there, 34.64 on the guppy. And support comes in right there. Actually, it's pretty close to what it was, 33.91. And lastly, let's go and wrap it up with the starting odd. Same thing. We talked about this yesterday. I think we even had that as our resistance at the time. We talked about how once again the Aussie had been overdone. You can see right here, this can be resistance coming in right there. You see that? Here to here. I'll actually even pull it back. See that? That's resistance. And actually just pretty much right near the high. I mean, the high took out just a little bit higher. It's going to be 94.90. And right there, support, 93.83. We're still trying to push up a little bit higher in the euro. We're going and move back into equities before we close up shop for the week on May Day. Let's see here. Russell coming back a bit. A little bit of a hammer on the 30-minute. What a fall this has been. And that actually hit right there on support here. Look at this on the 2-hour. See that? So it's pretty good moves here. We're going to move into the SPOOs. We talked about the significance here on this level, 2830, Goslows towards 2831. Key level above is going to be 2854. Talked about that. We'll see how things roll up around U.S. equity open. Obviously light, so and to a certain extent because of May Day, a lot of Europe is closed. NASDAQ coming off its lows. Bit of a hammer, the same as the Russell. And that's going to be it for today. Once again, like I said, very, very light because of May Day. Although we did see extremes. Extremes were not only that Amazon disappointed, but Trump going on about potential tariffs, and that really knocked the wind out of the sails here. So there we go. But that's all we have. Like I said, it's a very quiet day because of May Day in currency markets. Obviously, moves in equities. Hangover from the Amazon earnings, and then the tariffs with Trump, with China. So that's all we have. Thanks for joining us here in the European Crossover webinar. We'll see you in the chat room.